Welcome to Between Authors. I am your host, author Adrian Lopez. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like down below and don't forget to leave a comment for me as well. And definitely don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification so you don't miss all the amazing authors coming up. What is it that excites us as a reader? It's finding that author or book that you may never have heard of or found, sort of like the treasure hunt for a reader. The goal for my podcast is to bring to you those authors or books that you may never have heard of, but may be the treasure you've been searching for all along. Today, in episode 24, I bring to you Jessy Lynn, who has started Holy Creation Comics. We're going to go over a little bit about what the company is about, what she's working on, what she has coming out, and maybe what her plans are for the future. Welcome to the show, Jessy.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Happy to have you here today. Why don't you get started by giving the viewers a little bit of an introduction to who you are?
Okay. Well, I'm Jessy Lynn. I've been writing for a long time. I got into storytelling when I was really young, and it's something that always stuck with me. I worked with many companies, but mostly on the sidelines, behind the scenes. I didn't really get to make a name for myself. So I'm very excited to have opened the Holy Creations Comics to get my stories told.
Sounds great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your influences are? It doesn't necessarily have to be in what you're doing. It could be anything from music, movies, art.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my influence is DC Comics. I fell in love with DC Comics when I was just a little girl. I love their in-depth storytelling. The darker themes is something you don't really get to see in too many comic books. They had themes that ranged anywhere from murder to rape, and I like to see that in a comic story about superheroes because it kind of reflects into what's going on into society, and you get to see those themes that you might experience in your personal life right there on the screen or in their actual issues.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting because I have a werewolf book coming out on Halloween, and one of the things that always intrigued me about the werewolf was again that primal aggression of the werewolf. Right?
Mhm.
It's not a lot of times you see in the vampires. It goes a different way. Sometimes it's more romantic. Sometimes it's not really set like what it originally was basically a monster that's going to kill you, right? And they kind of gone away from that, and the werewolf never did. It's just really that primal aggression, which is why I love it and why I wrote the book. And when we discuss you coming on the show, I was very interested to hear what you're doing because I absolutely always thought that my story would be perfect for a comic. Again, because like you said, it's the darker theme. Because my book is there's a lot of killing and a lot of werewolf on werewolf killing, and it's not that sunnier side of stuff. So I'm very intrigued by what you're working on and what you're doing. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about Holy Creations Comics? What made you decide to do it other than you loving that genre and wanting to tell your own story? How did everything come about to get you to say, I'm going to do this?
It's almost as if one day I just woke up and said I'm going to open a comic company. I was I have two series that are kind of my babies. Stargazers, which is going to be my second series that I put out, and then the first one that just premiered on 9/1 of 23, Wicked Demons and the Warriors. I ended up focusing on this series because I figured it was easier or more important to get this one out there first. It has
Mm-hmm.
less characters and it doesn't need as much to get started. So I figured it would be a good series to get out there, and it has a lot of themes that we can actually bring into real life society. It's all about the love and patience, but also the wrath of God, which a lot of people do not understand. God does have righteous fury that we don't get to see in a lot of stories that talk about God. We don't get to see that biblical side of things. So I'm very excited to see this series come to life. I was actually working on Quarian with a couple different agents to try to get it on TV. And then I was just staring at my comic books one day and I was like, maybe I'll just open my own company. And in doing it this way, I actually got to tell the story I wanted to tell, because there was a lot of stuff I knew I was going to have to hold back because I knew no TV studio was going to actually put it on their channel. So there was a lot of things I wanted to include that I knew I would never be able to include if I worked for somebody. So I'm very happy that I decided to take this route.
And how are you doing this? Are you doing this on a specific platform? Are you doing it on multiple platforms?
I am doing it on promoted on multiple platforms, but I'm only selling issues on my website, holycreationscomics.com. Many companies do not want to sell the comic because they feel it's discriminatory, which I'm trying to figure out why, because it's a Christian series, so it doesn't include other gods, of course, because it's all about my main character's Catholic, so it's gonna follow Christian theology. It just made sense to me. I'm Catholic, so I wanted to include that in the series. So a lot of companies aren't all for putting a Christian series out there, I guess, but I might be able to get it on Walmart hopefully soon. I'm working on that. They have not had any issues with it so far, so I hope that goes through shortly. But at this time, the ebook of the pilot is actually available on my website for free for a couple more days, and the issue 1 is going to be released on 10/29.
Okay. And I just want to let the viewers know that I will leave all the links down below for your website and any other links that you want to share for them to be able to find your work or any of your issues or anything on that side. So you mentioned you're doing two different sets. You had one that you had started before, and you have the new one that you're going to be releasing. Is going forward right now for the immediate future, is that going to be your priority, is really working on this, or do you have a vision more to have several different stories going on at once, where you'll have different um, episodes or different, I can't think of the word right now for the comic, different
Yeah.
issues coming up.
Yeah, I get what
So
you're saying. Yeah, no, I do plan on having multiple issues at once, and I am gonna eventually be able to take on writers. I have a couple that I've been talking to that I hope I can take on in the new year. I told them I'm not ready to take on anyone just yet. I am willing to work with them up until the new year because I do believe I should have the time and energy to put in on their work as well come the new year. So I'm hoping to help more writers who want to get their story told but have not had much luck traditionally. This way they can tell the story they want. I'm not going to interfere too much. My main goal is just to make sure the story is readable. So I'm going to be focusing on their grammar and their any possible plot holes is really what I want to focus on. Otherwise, they have complete creative control.
Are these more in the line of a traditional comic, or are these more in the line of like a graphic novel, or how are you approaching it? Or are you going to do both in the future?
In the future, I do want to do both. I have a couple of graphic novel ideas for Wicked Demons and the Warrior, which is a already it was gonna be a movie idea originally, but it would fit more now that I'm doing the comic company more into a graphic novel setup that I'm very excited to start working on. But right now we're just gonna be focusing on season 1 of Wicked Demons and the Warriors, and during the mid-season break of Wicked Demons and the Warriors, I will produce Stargazers. The mid-season break will probably happen mid 2023, probably around March, April of 2020, excuse me, 2024.
Yeah. Okay. And are you doing basically everything for the comic? Are you doing the actual artwork? I know you're doing the story, but are you doing everything in terms of the setup and just doing from start to finish?
I actually contracted an artist because
Okay.
if I drew it, you would not enjoy it that much. So I did end up contracting an artist. I'm very happy with his work. He was able to make it Like it looks like kind of like a 90s themed comic, which I was kind of happy with. It looks like that old fashioned style with
Okay.
which I like because it's like a happier theme, but the story itself isn't necessarily happy. It's actually filled with a lot of drama, so I'm going to be very happy to see that contrast.
Nice. Do you plan on using the same artist for everything, or do you gonna kind of, switch up a little depending on what the comic is and what the, say, the style or the look you're trying to go for is?
Yeah, ideally, I would like to hire artists. Right now, he's contracted, so he kind of runs on his own schedule. He just gets the work done for me, and as long as it gets done, it gets done. But he's not hourly. He's not on my payroll. I pay him as the work comes in. So eventually, I do want to actually hire artists. I am looking for artists as we speak. So if anyone is interested, please feel free to reach out either on Twitter or my email, and I would be happy to look into your work.
Sounds good. And again, we'll leave all those links down below for people to be able to reach out to you and send you, if they're interested in that. So, as you move forward, right? You move forward with this. And when did you start the company? Was this year that you began it, or
May of 24.
May? So as you move forward and continue in this process, have you
Mhm.
found anything that you learned on the way that you would have wished you knew at the start? Or has it just been generally a work in progress as you go and you're just learning on the job kind of thing?
Well, I owned a business already. I actually own a contracting business. So the business aspect, I really knew a lot about already. It's really the that business kind of already has a name for itself, so it was really easy. We didn't really need to advertise. The advertising on this to get my name out there, to get the company out there, to really get people excited for the comic. That's been a work because I'm actually as young as I am, I'm not good at social media at all. I never liked social media growing up. It always seemed like a waste of time for me, and now I actually needed it, and I didn't really know what I was doing at all.
It's difficult anyway, right? It's difficult for any of the authors or any genre. It doesn't really
Mhm.
matter. It's a difficult process to get your work out there, get your name out there, get your product out there. That's probably the biggest struggle for everyone in this industry, right? In the literary
Yes.
industry, is it's difficult. It's difficult to get you out there because basically you are on your own doing what you can to try to get just eyes on the product in general. And it's very interesting sometimes how how something can catch and how something you think you got good eyes and there is no response or you get no feedback. So it
Mhm.
is difficult. It's not the easiest part of the whole process to begin with. Um, have another question for you. So have you, and I don't know if you need to or not, but have you gone through the process of like a Kickstarter or Indiegogo? Because from what I understand, comics seem to do very well on there in terms of getting backing, in terms of getting eyes on the product. And even if you didn't need the funds, maybe that's a way to go to try to get that support because it seems like comics do very well on those type of platforms. And generally, what happens is, you ask for an amount of money to do some of this stuff, and sometimes they all they want is a copy of the issue when it comes out, and they're happy
Mhm.
with that. But it's been very interesting when I was looking in that process how popular the comic side of it
Mhm.
was. Did you look at any of that, or have you even looked at that process?
I have looked into Kickstarter. I haven't actually really needed the funds, so I didn't really feel comfortable taking money from people if I didn't really need it. But I might give it another look if comics do well advertising. Maybe I could do something like give the money back to the people when I get it. Honestly, my store does okay. Not as well as I would like it to do, but it's doing pretty okay. I do sell product like custom T-shirts. That really is where the money comes from to
Yeah,
actually produce these comics. So again, if you guys want to check out my store, we have all types of different custom tees for mostly for conservatives, but we do have some liberal themes as well. Everyone is welcome. I may have conservative beliefs, but I believe everyone's voice matters, and the stuff I sell in my store reflect that narrative.
sounds good. And I had another question that for some reason is kind of skipping my mind for a second. Oh, if you do decide to go down that route, if it's something you do decide, I would suggest you do more Indiegogo than Kickstarter,
Hmm.
because Kickstarter is either full amount or you don't get anything. Indiegogo, you actually do get the money and you do get people that you can start, giving things back to on the way. You don't have to hit your goal. So Kickstarter, say you put a small amount of like 1,500 or something. Kickstarter, if you don't hit the 1,500 by the end of the campaign, nothing happens. You
Mm.
don't get to send them anything. They don't send you any. Nothing happens. Indiegogo, if I believe if it's once you've hit like $100, then anything past that, whoever does it, you guys can say, okay, I'm going to give you a free issue, and like you said, whatever you plan on the back end of that, since technically you don't need the money for it. But Indiegogo would be the way to go because at least it's a process you can work through. The other one is
Mhm.
very difficult if you're not sure you're going to hit the actual goal.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for letting me know.
Yeah, no worries. And so going forward, like you said, you're gonna look at some other possibly writers and stuff to do their stories. But for you, for your stories and stuff, do you have other storylines that you have ideas for, plans for? Like most
Mhm.
writers, most of us have 6, 7, 8 things at once that we're thinking of. Do you have a lot of other ones kind of you're planning in the works that as this thing starts going and you get a better process and you really have it down, have the machine down of processing these, that you'll have some other storylines kind of ready to go?
Yes, I do have a full library of to be announced for my future issues. Stargazers is more than definitely going to be the next issue, the next series I work on. That one's really fun. For the first season, we follow the adventures of this superhero team called the Stargazers, and a little alien orphan finds himself on Earth in the hands of Earth's angriest but family man hero icon. So it's gonna be very fun to watch. It's not as dark as, I wouldn't say it's as dark as Wicked Demons and the Warriors, but it does have some dark moments, definitely, because I can't keep anything nice. So we'll definitely get to see that. The next series after that is going to be really fun. This one's back to being a little more religious. It is called Cinderella. It follows the kind of like the male version of Cinderella, because that was my favorite fairy tale when I was growing up, and I always wanted to write a gender bent story, if you will.
Hmm.
And this one is actually gonna follow a family of four on their way to Canada, escaping Christian persecution in the U.S. It's gonna be a really obviously dark tale, because again I can't keep nothing nice. So they're actually gonna be on this journey to Canada, and during the downtime when they're hiding, the mother is gonna be telling the two children how she met Ellie or Cinderella. It's gonna be
Okay.
very fun. I can't wait to produce that one because again I really love Cinderella, so that's gonna probably be one of my favorite stories to tell.
Yeah, that sounds great. So for like you said, you're possibly looking for other writers because you believe probably by the start of the year you'll have maybe the time to do that. Is there a way? Do they just reach out through your website? I think you mentioned your email as well, and I can definitely put that up on the screen when we do this video. Um, but is there any other ways besides, like you said, Twitter? Do you want to give what your Twitter handle is for those also watching so they know how to reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me either on Twitter. My email is probably one of the best methods to reach me. But I do answer the PMs that come through as I get them as well. The only method I don't recommend is phone. I do have a phone number listed on my website, but I don't always have somebody at the phone to answer it. So you'll go to voicemail, and I only check the messages twice a week. So I do advise if you're going to reach out either on Twitter or my email.
Okay, sounds good. And so we discussed a little bit, or you mentioned a little bit about again other writers, right? Other writers going forward, and you did make it a point, which is probably very important to most writers, is that it will be kind of their voice, their vision. Like you said, you're just going to kind of double check on the grammar part of it, make sure it makes sense and it reads well on that side. Um, are you basically gonna, when you do that, are you gonna kind of keep it within a certain genre, or are you basically gonna open it up to, whatever within reason, right? Within reason, are you gonna open it up to whatever, writers come in and kind of say, you look, I would love to be able to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I won't do is promote any Satanism. So if the story gives Satan a voice, because his voice is the only one that does not matter in my eyes, I will not work with that. But it's pretty much open. I will work with any story, regardless of the belief, as long as it does not promote Satanism.
Okay, sounds good. Um, so what does the future hold for you? Again, taking the your comics out of the equation right now, because we know what you would like to do for the comic business that you're running. We know what you kind of like to do for the issues you're working on and the issues that you have kind of in planning on hold mode. And we know what you kind of want to do with other writers. What are some other goals or other things you kind of want to plan for the future, either with this business or just in general, that you would really like to do?
Well, eventually, I would like to have a studio so I can animate some of these series, either animate full on shows based on these series or just animate scenes or movies, something along those lines, because I fell in love with animation when I was about maybe 13, 14. I realized it was so much better than live actions. So I would love to see these issues come to life on TV, on a TV screen.
Yeah, that sounds great on that side. So I know again you said that you're releasing these essentially basically on your website, and you had mentioned that you probably won't be able to get some of the other companies or other avenues able to approve or accept them based on what they are. Is that including like doing KDP, self publishing, Amazon? Was that something that it seemed like they would not accept it and not take it on?
Yeah, I was in probably a lengthy conversation with them. We kept emailing back and forth because what they were telling me wasn't making much sense to me, because the series didn't even, like, the pilot doesn't even cover anything that we're gonna cover on the series, but this one issue they had an issue with. So I just thought it was kind of comical, and I just let it go after that, because I don't know what they're referring to. They're like, it violates the rules, and I was looking over their rules, and I just couldn't figure out which rule it violated. So I kept asking them, but they refused to answer.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of used to that by now, and I just let it go after that.
Yeah, that a lot of some of the things, or I would say a lot of the things with them in general, not just in art and literacy, because I've worked with them on a different thing in my normal day job with furniture and stuff, and a lot of the rules are very vague and they never really explain what the issue is. So you're spending all the time trying to figure out, and there's never an easy
Yep.
response where they just point at something and say, "This is the problem." It's never that easy. It's very, very difficult sometimes to work with them. So, you know, one of the other questions I had is, do you have any plans? maybe in the near future, say more in
Mhm.
the long term, to try to get any of your episodes into actual comic book stores or any of the avenues that actually sell comics. Have you thought about that? Is that difficult to do as well, or is that something you want to do farther down the line?
That is something I actually want to do. I actually had a couple of discussions with some comic book stores right near my house. I actually moved to PA, and there's a couple of stores I'm not too familiar with because I moved here like maybe a year or so ago, and I haven't had time to check out the stores honestly. But I do have some stores back near my house in New York that when I told them I opened up a comic book company, they're actually very excited. They want me to send them an ebook version and see if it was something they want to take on. So I'm really excited for that. I hope they do accept it because I would love my stories by my old house.
Yeah, that would be great if you could get it in any of the stores. Um, outside of this, is there anything else you would like to do, say, in the industry? Um, you mentioned about going into more of the graphic novel areas because you do have some stories that you think would fit that well. Is there anything else you have thought of in terms of this genre, right? This comic animated genre, because there's a whole bunch of different ways to go, or you want to focus basically on starting with the comics, maybe going into some graphic novels, and then just see where it carries you from that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Honestly, I am playing it by year in that regard, because I want to see how far I can take this. I have years of stories built up, lots of different issues that I want to discuss in the series, and I'm just very excited to see where I can take it from here, honestly.
That sounds good. So again, I want to remind the viewers that I will leave all the links down below. You'll be able to have her email, Jesse's email, the website, any other links that she has in terms of socials or any other ways to be able to reach her. Again, I want to thank the viewers for watching the episode today. Please leave a like for the episode and definitely leave a comment for either Jesse or myself. If you have any questions, if you just enjoyed the episode and want to let us know, definitely, let us know down in the comment. We both would appreciate it. And definitely don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification so you don't miss any of the amazing authors and writers coming up. I really want to thank you for coming on today, Jesse. This was very interesting. I have always loved comics myself as well and graphic novels, but you were the first one I've actually talked to that's been, going into this business and doing this. So it was a very interesting conversation to see the different avenues you're going to try to take it and some of the challenges as well, because that's one of the things that a lot of new writers or authors or anything does not understand is some of the challenges that are out there for you to get your work out there and get your voice heard.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well.
Thank you very much, Jesse, and thank you again, viewers, for watching today. Goodbye.